Welcome to the Instant Ink Comic Book Podcast. This is the podcast where we put together a one-page comic all live. So we don't know what we're going to make right now. We bring up a prompt, we kind of figure it out from there. And today we have someone who actually we may have stolen the concept a little bit from with his own podcast that I was a guest on a little while ago. But it's very similar concept. But here we also got the artist of Roberto here with us. So we'll have a full page done by the end. So anyways, I'm Adriano. You can find me at Pesto Comics everywhere online, at Pesto Comics as well. And as I mentioned, we're joined by my co-host, the artist here, Roberto. Please, Roberto, let us know who you are.
Okay, I'm Roberto. I'm the founder of Green Iceberg Press and creator of Voyager. And you can find me on robertoillustration.com. From there, that's the easy way to get to the different social media. I have different names for anything.
Right on. And Frank, thanks for coming. It's very much appreciated. Been a fan for a while. So if you'd like to let us know who you are, what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm Frank Martin, and I'm a writer, comic creator, all sorts of genres, all sorts of styles. I just like storytelling. And yeah, my show right now was where Adriano came on, and we just kind of wrote a story from scratch live. And I want everybody to steal the concept because it's fun and it's cool and it's different than just a boring old interview podcast show. So I'm glad you're putting a spin on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what we found, right? Like we were like, let's do a podcast. Like Roberto was the one that came up with the initial idea for sure, where, we should do a podcast together. We thought, let's just not do another interview podcast. There's people who do it and they do it better than we could probably do it. So we figure, you know what? we needed a twist here to make it a little more interesting, right?
You know what it is? I don't care enough to ask people questions. Like if I ask you a question, it's because I'm genuinely interested, but I'm not that genuinely interested. So I don't think I could do that for a full hour. So I'd rather have something else to take up the time. And I could do writing. So that's what it was all about.
Yeah, it's good. And I think it helps loosen people up a little bit too, right? Like, cause you're kind of distracted with, you're trying to get your story together.
Yeah. I've heard it compared to Hot Ones. You know that show where they're eating chicken wings. They said they're distracted with the eating the chicken wings that when then they go to answer the questions, it's like it kind of casual. It makes it more of a casual conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we've seen the same kind of thing. So we've had a few guests now, and yeah, we've noticed like it takes a little while. There's a lot of intimidation, especially when they throw up the prompts. But once we kind of get into it, people really loosen up because they're Roberto's drawing. It's kind of cathartic to. You came up with an idea and it's happening right there. You're not waiting for pages for months or whatever, right?
Cool.
All right, so let's do those prompts that I say stress everyone out. You're a pro, so I don't think we can stress you out with these, but I'll try.
Please stress me out. Give me something. Give me something difficult.
All right. So ignore these ones. I always like to do them live just so that there's no chance of people thinking we're cheating here. All right. And they barely change. So I'll read these out. Okay. So we got coffee or tea, a dialogue about the merits of coffee versus tea. I don't know about that one. Drama queen, a character who always attracts drama. Warehouse, the secrets that are taking place in an old abandoned warehouse. Telephone tag, two people who never seem to be able to get together. And dream catcher, someone is able to steal your dreams.
That's a cool one. We can't do that in one page.
No?
No, that's too big of an idea for one page.
Maybe save that one for later. Maybe you get a story out of that.
This warehouse, the secrets that are taking place in an old abandoned warehouse. You know what I like? And it's a good one-page idea.
Mm-hmm.
Drama queen. A character who always attracts drama. And what I imagine, and more than the drama queen part, is the attracts part. So I imagine like Mean Girls drama queen, like a girl in high school, except she's a magnet. So she's a literal magnet for drama.
Oh, interesting.
So she just goes around, I guess, I don't know, talking smack about people, and then the drama, and then everybody just like is drawn to her, and then
like the physical human being is getting like
she's an actual magnet. Like she's just she's a magnet with arms and legs, and maybe she's got a little crown like a tiara because she's a queen.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was what first popped in my head because I can, you know what I'm doing? I'm imagining a story I can tell in one page, right?
No, it's smart. And that's
Dream,
always I always have to again, I knew you'd be a pro with this. Usually I have to do a bit of a warning or people get it. I mean, they're all pros that are coming on, but
well, you know what? This anybody does this. When you read the prompt, something's popping in your head. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter what it is. The problem is people don't latch onto it. They just read it and it goes immediately away. So when you read a character who always attracts drama, the word attracts immediately gave me like magnet vibes and I just ran with it. You know, it's dumb. It doesn't really make much sense, but it doesn't have to make sense.
No, and I'm always down for the silly. We've had a lot of dark ones. A lot of books like to go dark. I prefer silly, so I'm happy you brought us there.
When it comes to one page, silly is always better. You know, it's easier to make a silly one page comic than it is to make something dark or serious. That mean doesn't mean it can't be done.
Yeah,
Coffee, like we could go through all of these just talking like coffee or tea, a dialogue about the merits of coffee versus tea. That's a very slice of life type of thing. So I can imagine like two people talking. I mean, you could do it, but that's a little boring
yeah,
unless
it's
you
gonna
want.
be talking heads, right?
Yeah, unless you want to like make it really fast paced, and then you have like an adrenaline addict addicted to coffee, and then you have like an English nobleman drinking tea, and they're just like doing different things, arguing about which one's better. Am I
Yeah,
literally coming up with ideas for every single one right now?
you don't have to. No, you just one.
Drama Queen was the Magna one.
Yeah,
Warehouse, the secrets that are taking place in an old abandoned warehouse. That's very open ended.
that one
Like,
is like that one I think is just meant to kick you off into
yeah, that's
thinking about
very that
something.
could be anything. That's just like a real like prompt in that there's
Yeah,
so
that's
many
to put
different.
you in a setting, and then maybe it's sparks something, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you say warehouse and secrets, the first thing that comes to mind is Indiana Jones. You know, when they take the Covenant, the Ark of the
Yeah, yeah,
Covenant, and they bring it in. So you would have to like kind of, I would guess, merge those ideas. Is how I do it. Telephone tag was another fun one. If I had an idea to think of it more, I would try to do it like a literal telephone tag, maybe like telephones playing tag, like anthropomorphic telephones, like the living magnet, and they're just running
yeah.
around tagging each other like kids. That would be kind of, but two people never seem able to get together. That's, I mean, I would just
That's
do that.
harder one page.
That's a
That's
hard,
that's like a full story,
yeah.
right?
But if you were to get rid of the descriptor and just did telephone tag, I think it
Yeah.
would be hilarious just to see a bunch of living phones playing the game of tag.
Like, I'm so curious which one Roberto's been drawing while he's been
I'm
looking them
sure.
up.
I think he went with the magnet because he started drawing right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll show you right
Okay,
now.
right here. I'll give you the screen so you could show us. But yeah, that warehouse prompt immediately gets me thinking about one of the old jobs I've had. So in when I was young, just getting started in my career, I was working in IT. I used to drive out to like all these Tim Hortons just to be the default Canadian, and I would fix those menu boards at the Tim Hortons, um, and gas stations and all that kind of stuff. Gas stations or Petro Canada, of course, too. So yeah, I'd go and repair all these things, and where all the parts were kept was in the sketchiest warehouse in Hamilton, like right off of the lake. It's like our steel town, so it's just warehouses and like empty field. Oh my God, Roberto, what have you done?
I like the second one is great. The problem is it looks more like a U than a magnet. I like her that
Right,
she's
right.
sexy, but it's like why does she have a U for a head? The first one definitely looks like a magnet. So
Yeah.
it's
My next choice will be like on the side.
a magnet.
Oh yeah,
That's
the
gonna
pink
look like a
pink at the bottom.
horseshoe or a city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that.
I think the first one is the winner.
Okay.
She's, she's just gonna walk around talking smack to everybody.
I think there's a lot of room for some interesting stuff there for sure. All right, so
What
where
was
are
the
we going
last
with
one?
this?
What was the last prompt?
The last prompt? Yes, the last
Oh, it was
prompt.
Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher.
I
Yes,
think that one was my favorite. It's hard. I mean, you could
it's
do it in one page, but it
it's
wouldn't
one
be a good
page.
it wouldn't be a good story, you
Yeah,
know?
someone able to steal your dreams. That sounds like a DC. event,
Yeah.
kind of.
I
Did
mean,
they just do that? What was it, Night Terrors or whatever?
the pro
Maybe they are dreaming that they are magnets.
the yeah. The problem with that is if you were to do that in one page, it would have to have an unhappy ending, you know? Because you have to set up the premise, which is basically, I imagine it like a creature or an entity who steals dreams, which means you essentially have one page to come up with that concept, and it doesn't leave much room for a happy ending. It's just they steal the dreams and that's it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad. You don't want to do that. I mean, you can. It's just I thought
I had a few tragic
Yeah.
endings.
This is
and that,
becoming a very depressing podcast, so I'm down for some silly stuff for once.
well, I mean, yeah, that's the point of like a really, if you want to do a serious or dark story, you need setup. You to
Yeah.
like to, and then you have to deliver on that setup. So one page having a setup and then a delivery that leaves you with a happy ending. That's not a lot of space, you know.
It's true. Well, the challenge we have with the one page on a silly one though is you get like you look at the page, you see everything, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you have a big punchline, it's spoiled. Like at least if you're not building up in a way through the panels, right? If it's just a visual, like it's spoiled as soon as you look at it.
Yeah, I tried to do that one recently with a one-page horror comic. So somebody said, write a one-page horror comic, and I'm like, okay. And I wrote it backwards. So
Nice.
basically, I came up with um, the basic concept was they're at a movie theater. A bunch of kids are at a movie theater, and they're all talking about the candy they're eating. And then they say that the last kid has gummy worms, and he says, "No, I'm eating real live worms." So the last image was him like eating worms, and he looks all gross, and so I wrote it backwards. I had the last panel was the worms, and then I kind of like went to the beginning, which eventually was them walking into the movie theater. But yeah, like you said, the payoff is the last panel of the kid with the worms, but there's no page turn. So it's like if your eyes glance to the bottom, that's
Yeah.
kind of it.
Right? Like you lose that surprise element. So you have to almost like build up to it. Like
Yeah.
even though you get the visual, there
Mhm.
has to be something that you don't quite understand the context until you've read it.
That's
Right?
and so I mean visually, it's easy for that to get spoiled. If you do comedy, it's a little easier to hide because usually the punchline is an actual thing of dialogue. Unless they're
Yeah.
reading the last panel, they're not going to ruin it. I think it works best if you treat it like a Far Side comic, you know,
Yeah.
where it's just every panel is just a joke, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So if you
I
have
like
her,
that.
yeah. So if she's walking down the hall and she's talking smack to everybody, every panel is just going to have some sort of humorous element to it. It's not really going to have a payoff at the end. I mean, you could try to figure out a payoff, but
Yeah, I feel like we need some kind of payoff.
all right.
What
So
would it
payoff.
be?
What would be the payoff be?
Is it
Maybe she interacts with another drama queen, and then they kind of the positive and the negative stick to each other.
you stole the words out of my mouth. I was thinking
I
I was
got
thinking
you.
we get the male opposite, right? This is the
Yeah,
drama. We get the drama king, and
that's sometimes these things just write themselves.
that's right. Yeah, that or we're hacks. I don't know, but
It's okay. You could be a hack. There's nothing.
yeah, hacks get paid, right?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, you try to write with the tools that you're given, and
yes.
when you have a magnet, magnets attract other magnets. They do that.
It's the Chekhov's gun thing, right? Like you have
You,
to
you
it's like
have
bring
to
that
do
up.
it.
If there's a magnet, you gotta have the opposites attract or whatever, right? Like
Mm.
that's just it's a must.
I've I love anthropomorphic characters. They're just fun. They're
Yeah.
goofy. They give you a chance to, I don't know, play around with weird concepts,
Hmm.
like things that wouldn't normally be alive. If they suddenly did come alive, how would they think? How would they feel? How would they act? You know?
Yeah. And there's like an instant hook, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't need to explain it. It's a magnet with sexy legs, right? Like you're already like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm interested if this is your bet. But like you don't have that if it's just a person. So
No, there's you gotta, yeah, it's like you said, there's instant hook. So the thing about comics is you have to communicate visually, right? When you write a story, it's all words. So if you have a visual image that can be interpreted any like multiple ways, you need the dialogue to do that for you. But anthropomorphizing something immediately does that, you know?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And it's a little more depending on what you're doing. It makes things a little more universal too, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like, if it's a talking dog, everybody kind of knows how a dog acts, you know?
You know what came to mind? You ever watch that sitcom, the old sitcom, the Dinosaurs?
Yep, yep.
So I'm thinking like if you saw a still of dinosaurs, and it's basically like a Family Matters living room with dinosaurs dressed in clothes living in this living room, you get it. It's the
Right?
dinosaurs, but they have a family like a human. Like you just get it immediately. So there's power in that visual still where you just the premise is in the image immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right? Like, yeah, it's a shorthand. It's
Mhm.
just you're already in and you haven't even started. Like that's
Yeah.
that's the dream, right? So
I'm trying to think of other stuff that's cool like that. I think one that's tricky is like Inside Out,
yeah.
The Pixar movie, because you could see. Let's say you have that image of all the emotions, and they're at the control panel. You don't immediately know what it is, but
Hmm.
it looks very interesting. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
like and that's the thing, right? So now you have to just be curious or even you have to get pitched on it to be like, well, these are emotions and that's why this guy's blowing
you,
his top, etc. But
you know,
you've already put in that much more work to get to that point, right?
yeah.
So
I saw a show on Disney Plus. I like late at night when I don't want to go to sleep. I like exploring all the little shows on Disney Plus that they just throw on there that like
mhm.
nobody watches. They did one that's called Pixar in Real Life, and
Okay.
and they yeah. So what they do is they try to come up with sets in the real world that passerbys interact with, and then it's like based on a Pixar movie. So
Interesting.
I'll give you the example for Inside Out because we were talking about Inside Out. So basically, in Central Park, they set up the control panel like the emotions have,
Hmm.
and they have the different emotions like anger, disgust, joy, and people walk by and they're like, "What the heck is this? What's going on?" And then they have two actors come and start a fight in front of the panel, like in the middle of the park, and
Okay.
then people start pressing the buttons, and the actors will start playing out those emotions.
Oh, interesting.
Like, so if they have joy, the two people just start loving each other and being this and that. And if they hit anger, they'll just start fighting. And
Yeah.
if they do disgust, they'll be disgusted at each other. It was very clever. It was very cool. I mean, they're like, I don't know, 12-minute episodes, 8-minute episodes. There's just a montage of different people doing it.
Right on.
So, what was another one? They had Wally. So they basically
Okay.
had a big pile of garbage,
Hmm.
and then they had a woman who said, "Oh my god!" The woman who grabbed them, like an actress, grabbed a passerby. And I'm sure they prepped these people a little bit beforehand. They're just not randomly thrown into it. And the woman goes, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Can you please stay here for just a second and don't let the garbage get taken because I lost my ring and I have to go back inside and I'll be right out." And the woman's like, "Okay." So this person's standing by the garbage. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just standing. And then they have a box and they have a Wally robot come out and
Okay.
approach the woman and give her the ring that like the
Oh,
woman
nice.
said she lost.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the Wally goes back and then the woman comes back and she says, "I found your ring." "Oh, Wally found it." It's just I thought that was a very creative and cute little.
Yeah, it's a neat way to it's almost like what do we got here? We have like so in every airport or like whatever where he's playing Just for Laughs. It's
Mhm.
Just for Laughs gags and it's like wordless little vignettes they do. But it's similar to that. So they just put up these weird scenarios and yeah, and then see how people react and how it all plays out, right?
Those I like the just for laughs things if you're doing it for fun. I
Yeah.
hate it when they give people like real moral conundrums.
Yes.
I'm like, I do not want to be in that situation. Do not do that to me. Like, I
Yeah,
just,
like someone has like a heart attack in front of you and like
yeah,
falls
I'm
down the
gonna,
stairs and it's
I'm
like
gonna have a terrible time with that. And then they're gonna come up to me and then be like, "Why did you leave the man dying in the street?" Be like, "Yeah,
yeah.
dude, like,
You're a terrible person, aren't
yeah,
you?
don't do that to me." I actually had a very weird. interaction today. This is a big what would you do. I was getting a haircut, and the guy's cutting my hair. He's doing the thing, and then he passes out.
No.
He just kind of like falls,
Oh my goodness.
and it's just me and another barber there, and I'm just like, okay. I'm like, we're trying to help the guy up, and he's out of it, and he's like, and we get him up on the seat, and he's just kind of hanging out there, and I'm like, do you want me to call 911? He goes, no, no, no. And I'm like, you don't look so good. And then he just sat there. And then the other guy said, let me finish your haircut. I'm like, okay, I guess so. And he starts cutting my hair, and about another, I don't know, 10 minutes go by. Then the guy tries to stand up. The first guy passes out again.
Oh.
Slam right on the ground. We jump on the seat. I don't know. As I'm trying to help him out, another customer walks in, and he goes, you guys okay? And I'm like, just a little medical emergency. Don't worry about it. And he's like, you want me to call 911? And we're like, I think he's all right. Don't worry. And he's like, okay, I'll be right back. Just took off. Never came back. He was
Not
like,
my problem.
He was like, this is something I did not want to deal with. But you know what? I was already in the middle of the haircut. I was like, like, he was cutting my hair. I can't do that. I wasn't in that position to just take off.
Yeah, that's a conundrum. I don't know what you do. At least the other barber offered to do the rest of the haircut. Otherwise, yeah.
Well, what was I going to say? I got to take care of my friends so long too. I'm like, but buddy, I got to finish the thing. I thought maybe he was. I thought maybe he was going to give me the haircut on the house, but no such luck.
Oh, still no?
No, full price.
Wow.
Giving emergency medical services and still no discount.
Not even a coupon.
No, nothing. They gotta make rent, you know. They I was the only customer in there.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I guess it's not going gangbusters for them. The other customer runs away. So.
That's very
no
cool.
No one called 911.
You know what? I started dialing, and then he's like, no. I don't know if he didn't want to like pay for the ambulance ride or whatever, but he no. And you know what? I hit send, so it started going, and then I hung up real quick. And sometimes they call you back 911.
Yeah,
right.
They didn't do that. So
maybe you're too quick on the hang up.
Maybe
that's an act that they put every week.
Yeah,
maybe. So right before I was done, there was 5 minutes left of the haircut, and he actually gets up again, and he didn't pass out, and he kind of hobbles to the bathroom and shuts the door, and I'm like, if he passes out in there, we're not gonna know.
Yeah,
And as the guy's checking me out, I'm like, you should go check on your buddy, because if he falls and hits his head on the sink, I'm gone. I'm in my car. I'm out of here.
I'm finishing this haircut somewhere else. Are you ever going back there? That's the question. Was that your last time?
It wasn't really my go-to spot. You know?
Okay.
I was on my way
so
home.
This was like an adventure.
It was. I've been there once before.
Okay.
And I don't know. Some guy with a lazy eye was cutting my hair, and I was like, if he can't see what I'm doing, he's just gonna snip my
lopsided.
Yeah. So.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know how you handle those situations. I'm usually pretty polite. I don't know if it's the Canadian in me that's like, I'm not gonna cause a stink. I'm just gonna get this garbage haircut this one time, and you'll never see me again. I'm never coming back. But I'll pay you. I'll tip you. I'll be very friendly, and we'll never cross paths ever again in my life.
No, I'm pretty friendly. I'm pretty nice. I have some EMT training too, so I don't know, that helped be in this situation, having some experience with that stuff. I mean, what are you really gonna do? You're not gonna just be like hop out of your seat and run away when you saw the guy pass out.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, you're there in it now.
And you know what? He just passed out. It wasn't like he had a heart attack or anything. So that would have been
true. Yeah. Seems to happen on our train every day. I don't know how the trains are out there, but the way we've designed them is the little button also looks like the button to stop the train. So every single ride, somebody's hitting that damn button like there's a heart attack happening, and then the train stops, and the whole deal. I don't know if they planned yours better or not, but I haven't seen them based on the ones I've taken though. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird segue on my part, but I feel like everyone's having a damn heart attack on the train out here.
I love what you got going on here.
Yeah.
I'm just doing. If you want to do some,
Yeah, what do we
No,
do story wise with this? I think we got some good visuals.
no, I think it's a story.
Yeah.
I totally think it's a story. We just got to. I mean, if we're gonna come up with dialogue, we just got to figure out what she's gonna say. What she's gonna say.
Yeah, I think that, like, what do we got? So that last the bit with the people
So
on
we
all over.
essentially have 4 panels here, right?
Yeah.
We got her standing, we got her walking, we got her posing in front of the king, and then we have the people grabbing onto them, right?
Do we want that last page to
Yep.
be more of a reveal though, where it's like she doesn't even know that she's gonna run into this guy who's doing the exact same thing that she is, right? Like maybe that middle's a little different.
It's up to you. I like.
this is another character. This is not the same that the beginning.
That's true, actually.
Yeah,
That's another girl.
Listen,
I was trying to figure out a way to put that to fix that in there, and I'm
you don't
like,
want to waste it.
is she just gonna pose for him in the middle of the story?
No, I think we got to build to that last bit, right? Like,
Yeah. So you would need
where
you would need to get rid of that and then have her already surrounded by people.
yeah, right.
Like
And have,
not grabbing her, but just like around her.
yeah, like I feel like the beginning, like maybe even that the first panel is the one of her walking down the hallway, and then we need to see the effect of, like, she talks shit,
The
and then
people
somebody
swarming
gets
her.
right. Yeah, like where
You would need to get rid of the one of her
the,
standing and then move that one over.
that's right, right, and then you start having like more and more people, like at least one or two, so you get the idea that every time she says something, it's like the person's coming and sticking her. Establishes what that ending is, and then our reveal is the end where it's like, yeah, like they're both doing it. They found each other because they're both like to talk crap, right?
You just delete it, just like it's gone now. It's in the ether.
No, it's a turn off layer.
Okay, all right. Because when I'm writing, I never get rid of anything.
Oh yeah.
I save everything.
How many files do you have hidden away?
Oh God, more than I can count.
Well, I know you're doing your, like, what is it, like daily drabbles, and
I
then
so I yeah, every week I post a Twitter story, a 4 panel webcomic that's always the same panels, and then a drabble on Friday. And then in order to keep that going, I come up with a new one every week. So I'm essentially writing a microfiction, a little webcomic, and drabble every week. Today I wrote a drabble. I was looking at stuff for like hair growth, and
oh
so
yeah,
I wrote a story about a guy who was scared about hair loss, that he like overdoses on it, and he wakes up
okay,
with like big locks in the morning.
that'd be wonderful.
Well, I mean, when you have to come up with so many of these little tiny short stories every week, you're basically pulling ideas from anywhere.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Anywhere and everything is a story. And when you start doing that, you start really like looking at the world differently. I mean, I know that might sound pretentious, but it's
No,
like,
no, it's a muscle, right? Like
yeah.
you're constantly
So
building that strength, right?
I posted one. I think the microfiction that I posted on Monday. It was about a guy. You know what? I just read it. Let me just read it. Let me see if I
All
can
right.
pull it up. I mean, it's a microfiction, so it's
It won't take long. Yeah.
no. Well, I put it in a How do I describe it? In the form of a tweet, right?
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah. So you have a character limit too, right? As well as
I'm sorry.
like when you're doing it in a tweet, are you bound by the character limit as well, or are you just looking to do
Character
like,
limit. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to do it in 280 characters. So
that's
if I
yeah.
have to come up with a name, I don't want to do like Christopher, because it's like
It's a waste of space. Yeah,
that's a lot of characters. I could just
yeah,
do
yeah,
Sam, you know. So what did I
yeah.
say? Toby knew what he wanted for his multi-million-dollar inheritance. He quit his job, sold his home, and hit the road in his car. That's all he would do for the rest of his life. Just drive along highways, stopping at gas stations to fuel up and eat until he died behind the wheel. I literally came up with that just walking down the street and seeing somebody driving their car.
That's pretty
Oh.
dark, man.
I A lot of them are dark. A lot of them are silly. A lot of them are goofy. I don't know. They're just they end how they end. And when you only have 280 characters, you can't really like give it a happy
No, it's good though. Like I try to read as many of them as I can. I usually catch them in the Discord, and I'm slow to catch them sometimes, but I always enjoy them when I find them.
Well, that's kind of the point. It's like there's just so many of them. It's just if you see it, you see it. If you don't, you don't. And
Yeah.
so I was just originally just posting them on social media, just Facebook, Instagram. And then when I started my Patreon, I started kind of putting them on Patreon. It's a free Patreon. So everything on there is public, everything is free. But it's a good, I guess you would call it catalog or archive or collection of them all. So you
Yeah,
could,
right
if
on.
you wanted to see them all, you could go one after the other. And I have a subset of my mailing list, and I send
Mhm.
them out to people that are a part of it every Friday. So it's like if you really want to see them and you don't catch them on social media, they'll be delivered to your inbox. So
Right on. That's good
try to
information because I'm just catching them on socials here and there. Mailing lists are very important.
well, it,
I'm on your main list. I'm just not on that one, the Drabble one.
you know what it is. It's people. You need to like constantly be engaged to do this thing. People like they say you're only as good as your last release or
Yep,
something because that's when people remember you was when you last put something out. You need to constantly keep people engaged and let them know that hey, I'm alive and I write things. And
it's
that's
true.
hard to do when you're making full length stuff. But if I have this short stuff and I'm just throwing it out there, they're like little reminders that I exist, you know?
Yeah. No, it's smart too. And I mean like at least it's like quality content. You're not doing I don't know what half of like TikTok is doing,
Oh
right?
god. Oh god.
It's just stuff for the sake of stuff.
I get fed it all the time
Yeah.
because what it is it's like a hot girl on my thing and I click it because I'm a guy and my brain is very small.
Yeah.
And then it's just some stupid joke that they make and I'm like this is how they do it. They get like some moron like me
Yep.
looking at a girl's chest and then they make $2,500 a day. You
Yeah,
know?
right?
It's terrible content. It does nothing for you. It doesn't really like fuel you or excite you or make you think. But that's what drives the algorithm.
Yeah. And
Is
I'm impressed with how much uh I don't know if plagiarism is the right word, but if you know when you see something funny, like somebody actually had a pretty funny joke on there, and then you're like going through it again a couple days later, and you see someone else, and it's like the exact same rhythm, like they're making the same joke. It's like wow, like who? One, I don't know who came up with the idea originally. Like you don't own an idea, of course, but people are straight up like taking ideas and just repeating them as their own. And it seems to work because I'm seeing 4 or 5 versions of the same thing all the time. And I don't know what the goal is there. Like, why? Why are you wasting your effort making a video that somebody already made better than you, right?
because
Like,
it's not about the content.
yeah,
It's not about the pride of the creation. It's about what you gain from it, which is sad, but I don't know. Was this inevitable? This social media world that we live in? Like, were we all
yeah,
always bound to put out mindless content for views and likes?
yeah. I guess it's the downside of democratizing things, right? Everyone has the same level of access, and not that I'm saying they shouldn't, but clearly not everyone has the
Oh no, I'll
desire or
say
the
it. Not
will
everybody
to do
should.
something.
Not
Yeah.
everybody. If I want to be the one in charge. If I deem you an idiot, I will throttle your reach. I want to
Yeah,
be.
and
I want to
I
be the
think
one.
that's what's happening, right? Like if you don't like someone, you block them, you mute them, you whatever. Well, Elon said we can't block anymore, but um but like you can curate your own feed, but yeah, like a lot of garbage that never would have seen the light of day, right, is getting through now and
It's a give and take, right?
yeah,
You want to curate your feed because you don't want toxic influences. You want things to be light and want things to be happy, but then you run the risk of creating a bubble for yourself that you can't see outside of.
yes,
So
which yeah, has
it's
caused its own problems.
it causes its own problems. So it's
Yeah.
hard. I try not to block. I've blocked people very infrequently, or just like say I don't want to deal with you. Um, I try to listen to everybody, and maybe that's why I hate social media so much.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, you got to be a little more liberal with that block button, man. Just I don't know. I don't. It's not that I'm quick to block people, but there's certain like topics I just don't need to get into, right? Like I don't. It's not of my interest. If you're, I'll keep it relatively safe, I guess. I'll say like if you're really into crypto and you're just telling me the price X Bitcoin today, like
I
I don't
don't.
need
Yeah,
to follow
I
you,
don't need that
right?
either. That's
Yeah,
I have zero interest in that. But you know what? I find the subject of it fascinating. Like I don't need to be pitched
yeah,
crypto. I'm never going to buy it. But the concept of the blockchain and news stories involving it, I find it interesting and fascinating because the more knowledge you have, the more fuel you have to tell your stories. So I don't think it's wise to shut everything out and
of course.
not learn from it. So it's always a balancing act.
Yeah, it's the grifters you're trying to push out, right?
Yeah.
Not so much the topic. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah, Bitcoin has there's a concept there. I don't hate the idea entirely, but I don't need you to sell me your latest coin every day, right? Your pump and dump whatever you got going on.
No, absolutely not. So we got three panels here, right?
Yeah. All right. So where are we with this? We got the people getting. Are we doing like another panel of a similar thing, or what goes in this panel?
Uh, I was thinking that maybe I should do like a zoom out, or maybe this needs to be more close up here. This is the third panel, and maybe here it's like general panel, like, and we can see this guy on the corner just popping out, and she's like all covering people here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like a back panel where you're behind her and you
Yes.
see her. She's yeah.
Nice. Okay. We're on to something.
Yeah.
Oh man. So we don't want to talk politics because that's upsetting. But
Politics are upsetting.
and keep in mind, so this is airing in January, so we don't know what
Oh
few. This is airing in January, it's being filmed in October, so we have no clue what the future holds.
my god, world could be
Um,
over by then.
yeah, it could all be over.
Well,
That said,
I mean, I could talk about what I got going on in January. Looking forward
yeah,
to the future. I got
okay,
my
let's do it. What do you got going
I
on in January?
got my P1 Nokia Grimm Space T-shirt on.
Is that how you pronounce it?
P1 Nokia. I mean, it
I
doesn't
was,
really matter. You could call him Pinocchio.
I
I
always wondered. It's one of those things, when you see a name in a comic and you've been saying it wrong forever because you just don't know. Nobody ever
I
clears it
don't
up
know
to you.
how else would you say it. You just
Yeah, I thought it was just Pinocchio spelled funny, but yeah,
I
Pinocchio.
mean, you could call him Pinocchio.
Yeah,
It's really it's people. I mean, he's like a droid in Star Wars, like
yeah,
R2D2.
yeah, yeah. No, that way makes so much more sense. Like it was like a light bulb moment, right?
Well, next year's I'm really looking forward to. It's my Grimm Space year, so I have
Nice.
6 launches, and all of them are going to be Grimm Space titles.
That's
And
awesome.
he's one of my Grimm Space characters. So I think in January is going to be Three Little Pigs. So that should be fun.
Awesome. Yeah, and I remember you did like a Marvel style here's my year plan
Yeah,
kind
that
of
was
thing.
fun to do.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So you've got the whole year like
Oh, I got
ready.
the whole decade planned out.
Oh yeah. That's
I
the way to
yeah.
do it.
Well, I'm modeling it after the MCU a little bit as far as format and releases and stuff. So each release is its own thing, right? You could go to Iron Man, you could go to Thor, you can see each movie individually, but they're part of a bigger picture, and eventually they can all come together in the Avengers.
That's
I'm
awesome.
I'm doing the same thing. So we have all these standalone stories that interconnect. We got cameos and stuff like that, shared universe, and then a lot of these characters are going to come together in their own like Avengers, which is going to be a Wizard of Oz story in December. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the year. It's a series that I enjoy writing, and I think people dig it. So I've never really doubled down on one series before. So I hope this is that series, and I'm gonna kind of like gauge it in the middle of the year and see how it's doing. But if it's doing well and it's resonating with people and it's picking up speed, I'm just gonna like really blow it up and do a whole bunch of different stuff with it. So
Yeah.
I hope that's the case because I already have them all planned out. I hope not to like pull the plug on it, but it's a lot of fun to come up with concepts and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're onto something. I mean, your previous campaigns have all done pretty well. I think there was that one story where you did the foil cover that I think that was probably the only one that I don't think enough people knew the inspiration behind it. I
Yeah.
know you're struggling with that one, but it sounds like you're going with the stalwart stuff
Well,
to start.
what happened was, so I did Jack and the Beanstalk, and then I did Pinocchio, and I wanted to continue the story from Jack and the Beanstalk from where it left off, and in order to continue the story naturally, I had to find a fairy tale that fit like where the story would go. I can't
Yeah,
just pick like Rapunzel and then just shoehorn it into.
find a way.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense. So I needed to find something. And the Golden Bird was the fairy tale that fit that perfectly. The problem is nobody knows the Golden Bird.
Yeah, I
So
didn't know it. I didn't even know it now to
no,
say it out loud. But
no. So it was like I got to bite the bullet. I got to do it with this one. It still fits in the theme. If people don't know it, whatever. I'll get
this is how
that
they
through.
get to know it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get through that one. And then next year, I have kind of the whole lineup of ones people are familiar with. You know, Three Little Pigs, Cinderella. Then I'm doing Monkey King. Then Peter Pan one. Then Anansi, the African spider trickster. And finally, Wizard of Oz. So all of those are household names. Everybody knows them.
Oh yeah.
And it should be cool.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be exciting. I mean, it sounds like you got something really, really cool being set up, right? Like, yeah, like you got like a whole universe to yourself that
Oh,
just happens.
the weird thing is like you have to plan this stuff so far in advance
Yeah,
that it's like it's so cool to come up with an idea and then be like, I can't wait for people to see this in 5 years.
yeah.
Yeah, I have an idea for a cyberpunk Little Red Riding Hood. I want to do something with Johnny Appleseed, Island of Dr. Moreau. Currently, actually, right now, I'm writing the script for a Rumpelstiltskin one, which is going to
Nice.
be not next year, but then the year after that. So, and I have a lot of fun with these characters because they're not like standalone adaptations. I'm writing these. I'm using the same characters throughout. So I'm like,
Hmm.
they're my boys. I hang out with them. They got their own voice. They got their own swagger, and they have their own history that I created. So it's really cool getting to know them and giving them their own little universe to play in.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? And then like we were saying with the anthropomorphic stuff and all that, like there's an easy entry, right? Because you're using all these known properties and that it's like, oh, what did he do to this? What is this Pinocchio in space kind of thing, right?
Well, there's a dual side to this. There's the Grimm Space side or the Grimm fairy tale side to it, which is recognizable. But then
Yeah.
there's also the sci-fi side to it, and that can be recognizable too. So, for
Mhm.
instance, I'm not just like originally it was Star Wars, like it was the whole universe was going to be modeled after Star Wars. But then I realized I could really do what I want and model it after any kind of science fiction element to it.
Mhm.
So for the Peter Pan story, it's called The Ballad of Captain Hook, and Captain Hook is going to kind of be more central to the story than Peter Pan. But taking a departure from the Star Wars, and I'm going to do Star Trek instead. So I'm modeling Captain Hook after like
Nice.
a Starfleet captain.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm taking those two very iconic, very recognizable imagery, and I'm
Yeah.
just merging them together, which is a lot of fun. And I think that's the one I'm looking forward to the most because I'm doing like the Jolly Roger, except I said here's the Jolly Roger. I told my artists, and I said here's the Starship Enterprise. Do the thing where you put them
Find a way
together.
to make them one.
Yeah, just make them mash them together and make a thing, and it's fun. You're playing with toys, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I find when you're starting a new series, it's like it's a lot of fun because you don't know where you're headed and stuff. But That's fine. It's like the most work, right? Because you don't, like you said, like now you kind of have everything established and you're playing with these toys. When you're first starting, it's like, there's a joy in it for sure. And it's fun to see something that you just thought of like kind of come to life. But then there's the work of like making it valuable and like creating that backstory and getting to know even if this character is worth following. Like it was cool as an idea in the shower, right?
Yeah, I have. There's so many instances of that where I'm developing a character because I have to,
Yeah,
and then it's whether or not like can this character be in another story? Can she keep going?
yeah,
And it's also cool because there are instances where I don't need to just adapt a story. I can adapt a character, put it in the story, and then continue on. And a good example of that is in the Three Little Pigs story. I finally did a Sherlock Holmes character,
yeah.
and she doesn't have her own story yet, but she keeps popping up in all these fairy tales. I have her in multiple stories, so it's like I'm taking Sherlock Holmes, a character from Victorian England, and I'm fitting her into all these fairy tales. It's just really cool to see the universe flesh out and become kind of like this own little thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're getting the best of both, right? Like you have these characters that are established, but you're like putting them in these crazy new settings, right? Like you're getting something totally novel out of it.
Yeah. And it's fun because the Sherlock Holmes character, she solves mysteries, obviously. And
Yeah.
there's so many mysteries in fairy tales. So it's like, what would Sherlock Holmes do when the prince is trying to find Cinderella, who the slipper belongs to? Like,
Hmm.
that's a weird setup. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah,
Or what we do with the Three Little Pigs is it's not really a retelling of the Three Little Pigs. It's more of a sequel.
sure.
So, in the story, the big bad wolf can't knock down the brick house, right? So in this tale, the sequel, the brick house gets knocked down, and the Sherlock Holmes character gets called in to solve the mystery. So it's like I'm like creating these fairy tales, what ifs, and then I'm having a legendary detective try to figure it out. So
Nice.
it's really, and I think that's it. Like you said, a lot of the work is done for me. People know Three Little Pigs. People are familiar with Star Wars. People know Sherlock Holmes. Let's just that work is done. The
Yeah.
foundation of who they are and what they're about. Let's just let the story play out, and that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And like again, like you don't want to sell yourself short there either because I mean it's the I've heard the concept of, you know, Jerry Seinfeld goes to a comedy show, he gets 5 minutes where everybody's going to give him like 5 minutes where he can be unfunny because he's Seinfeld. And then after that, it's like he better start killing because people like or now they want the show. Right. So it's that. It's like people will come in, they'll be like, oh, really cool. You got like a couple pages. And then you really have to start like your writing has to do the job and the art and all that, of course. Right. But like it has to be a good story. You can't just say, well, it's Pinocchio. You like it, right? Like,
We'll find out. I don't I
yeah,
don't know. It's weird how much I don't consider how things will be perceived or received when I do them. I'm just trying to make a cool Three Little Pigs sequel space story with Sherlock Holmes. I'm trying to do something that I would enjoy. Will somebody else like it? I hope so, because then that allows me to keep doing this thing.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, I'm making these things for myself and how I would want to see them do. And hopefully sometimes it resonates with people, sometimes it doesn't. But I think as long as you consider yourself as your main audience member, you're on the right track.
yeah, 100%. And I mean, especially as an indie, right? Like nobody's tasking you with this. Like this is your, you know, what you're doing. Like there's no reason why you have to.
This is just what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Very eloquently put, my friend. But right, but that's the whole thing. It's like, why would we be indies if we wanted to just tell stories that we felt like would sell only, right? Like I don't want to, but I just want to make some money, right? I mean, people do that. 100% people do that, but I can't buy into that. I feel like there's
Yeah.
easier ways to make money.
I
Going
had
forward.
a guy in the Discord ask me recently. He said, "I have a story and I don't know if I want it set in this country or this country." He's like, I'm kind of leaning towards this, but I think readers will more resonate with this. And he's like, what do you think? And I said, what do you want to do? He says, I want to do this country. And I was like, done. You know the answer to your question. He's like, but what if readers? I'm like, you're not writing it for them.